called the chip pan demonstration. How many people in the arena still cook chips in a chip pan? 1, 2, if that. Majority of us don't. So you think, well, actually, this demonstration doesn't mean anything to me because I don't cook chips in a chip pan. But how many of us use a wok or a frying pan on a reasonably regular basis? Probably all of us. They are the most dangerous ones. They are all now called hot fat fires. The chip pan that we've got here takes about 10-15 minutes for that to get hot enough before it automatically ignites. Whereas a wok or a frying pan that we use at home, there's such a shallow amount of oil, it only takes a minute and a half, and that pan will catch fire. But what is it that you do that causes that pan to catch fire? Any idea? You leave it unattended. Spot on, fantastic. We leave it unattended. Now that's either a deliberate distraction where we think, do you know what, I'll turn that on, I'll go and put the washing away, or I'll go and put the bins out, or I'll go and do this, or it's an accidental distraction. Front door, telephone, TV, children get you distracted. Off you go to look after them, you forget the cooking, and then a minute or so later you come back in and the pan's alight. So, if that pan was alight, does anybody know, hopefully you all do, what is the worst thing that we could put onto that hot fat fire? Water, fantastic. And that's what we're going to demonstrate in a moment. The worst thing you can put on a hot fat fire is water. Any amount of water that goes into that frying pan will expand 1,700 times. So you think of a small coffee cup size of water, put that in, you are going to get 1,700 times worth back in a huge fireball. Now that fireball is going to hit the kitchen ceiling and it's going to come down and it's going to completely envelop you. I would suspect most of you don't wear this sort of outfit for cooking. Mark does because he's not a very good cook, but most of us probably wouldn't be wearing that sort of outfit at home. You'd be wearing what you're wearing today. And unfortunately, I'd let you work out the sort of injuries that we would sustain from that. So the most important thing we want to get across today is never, ever leave your cooking unattended, particularly if we are using hot fat. If it does catch fire, if you were unfortunate enough to have a fire like this, the best advice, unless you've been trained, is to get out of the house, shut the kitchen door as you go, and dial 999. Leave this incident to the professionals. If this goes wrong, you can end up with life-changing injuries. Do not underestimate the damage that this fire will do to you. So, we've let our pan just simmer away here. So in a moment we're going to take the lid off and then hopefully fairly soon, can be a bit temperamental, the pan will catch fire. So there are many other things in our home that can cause fires. Candles, we need to be very careful with those. Make sure they are in proper holders. We get a lot of incidents where people use tea lights. You go for your annual day out to IKEA and you come back with nothing more than a great big sack of these tea lights, the little ones in foil containers. You take them out and think, oh, I'll put them on the shelf, I'll put them on the plastic bath, anything like that. Once you've lit one of those tea lights, within 15 minutes they are hot enough to set fire to whatever they're on. So if they're on a flammable surface like a wooden shelf or a plastic bath, they will set fire to that. So be very careful. Be very careful with cigarettes. Nowadays we don't have so many fires in the workplace to do with cigarettes, but cigarettes are still the biggest cause of fire death in this country. In the past 5 years we have had 10 people in this county die in fires caused by cigarettes. Every one of those people involved were over 65 years old. So that is a real target audience that we're trying to get the message out to. We also need to make sure we're careful with electrical safety. Now that's a big thing nationally at the moment. You may have seen on the news. Really important. We don't leave appliances on unnecessary. We don't leave things charging when we're not there. And it's also very important not to put washing machines, dishwashers and tumble dryers on when we go out. And we're going to talk about that shortly. So we want to prevent fires happening. Now the sun's coming out. We're soon going to be into barbecue season. Be careful with barbecues. A lot of people do not realise how hot the charcoal has got a working, that is the key word, a working smoke alarm. How many of you have tested your smoke alarm in the past month? Hands up. Right, all of you have got a bit of homework to do when you go home this afternoon. You are going to go home, all the little ones, make sure you get the grown-ups to do it when you get home, push the button and your smoke alarm should go beep. Then you know it's working absolutely fine. We need to look after our smoke alarms. How many people's smoke alarms go off when they cook? Come on, be honest. How many people's go off? There's two reasons for that. One, you're a really bad cook and burn everything. That's you and you. The rest of us, it could be because our smoke alarm is a little bit too close to the kitchen. And we have a real problem with that, because what happens is the smoke alarm goes off, people go and give it a little flap with a tea towel, a few minutes later it goes off again, they go and give it another flap with a tea towel, third time it goes off, out comes the steps, people take the battery out, and then that battery seldom ever goes back in the smoke alarm. So, either make sure you don't burn your cooking first of all, but if it does happen, you might need to look at moving your smoke alarm. We need to test our smoke alarms monthly. That's the plan nowadays, so that test them once a month, push the button, so that we will know that those smoke alarms are working. Okay, so it's fantastic. You go home today, you test your smoke alarm, and it's working. Fantastic. Next thing we need to talk about is an escape plan. Basically, what are we going to do if we're woken up by that alarm going off? The most important advice is to get everybody together and leave the house via the normal escape route. A working smoke alarm in the right place will give you plenty of time for you and your family to escape. Down the stairs, out of the normal front door. If you are ever cut off by a fire, it's really important to get everybody together. A lot of people, when we ask them what would they do if they, what do we think they would do if they were trapped upstairs, people often say, well, I'm going to jump out the window. People say I'm going to tie all my sheets together and climb down it. People say I'm going to throw my mattress out the window and jump on it. How many of you could throw your mattress out of your bedroom window and jump on it? None of us. None of us. I've never been to a house in 29 years where we've turned up and there's a mattress out in the front garden and everybody's jumped on it. So they're things that aren't really going to happen, but that's what people think. The final thing we're going to look at today, before the fire should burst into flames, is a bedtime routine. All fires pose a significant hazard to you, but fires in the early hours of the morning are that little bit more serious. When the sounders go off here at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning and we get called to a house fire, we know we've got a serious incident we're going to, because most of the town is fast asleep. So there are some simple things you can do each and every night before you go to bed to keep you that little bit safer. It's called a bedtime routine, but reality, if I renamed it, I would call it a bedtime and any time you go out of your house and leave your house unoccupied routine. But needless to say, that's not as catchy. If you all left your house today and there's nobody left in your house to come here, you should have followed this routine as well. Number one thing, when you go to bed, close as many doors as you can in your house. That might not always be practical. You might have open plan house, or you might have cats and dogs running wild, whatever, but the more doors you can close, the better. Turn off anything unnecessary that's electrical. We're really talking about TVs and computers. Don't leave them on standby. Things like fridges and that, obviously we have to leave them on, but anything we don't, turn off. If we've used candles, make sure they're fully extinguished. If we've used cigarettes, leave them outside, leave them in the ashtray in the sink. Don't just stub them out and put them in the plastic bin in the kitchen. And one of the most important bits of advice is to do with white goods. Now, I'm going to ask for an honesty vote here today. Please be honest, because it's a good straw poll. How many people in the crowd here today would put either a washing machine, a dishwasher or a tumble dryer on and either go to bed or go out? Come on, be honest. Everyone's getting pointed at as well, yeah? Right, okay, we go to a lot of incidents involving these white goods. The incidents involving those white goods during the daytime when people are there are normally minor. The ones at night time are more serious. A lot of people put them on at night time for economy 7 electricity, and you think, well actually, it saves me a few pence. Not only could that catch fire, but that also could flood your house. Last tour we had, first tour days this week, we had 2 washing machines cause extensive damage to a block of flats because the pipe came out and flooded the flats. But a lot of people put these items on and go out, and that's the worst thing to do because that fire will turn into a significant fire, and even if your smoke alarm's going off, your neighbours may not hear it. Okay, so seamlessly that has now caught fire. So this is what's happened. As we said, a chip pan, as you saw, took about 15 minutes. A wok or a frying pan, a minute, minute and a half, and that pan is going to catch fire. So the worst thing we can put onto that is water. Mark's walking along now. All we've got is a plastic cup of water, and any second now Mark is going to pour that on, and that is going to expand 1,700 times. In the front row you're going to get a bit warm there, so just be careful. Okay Mark, over to you. Okay, fantastic demonstration. Now that is an open display unit in an open yard. Just have a think of that as your cooker in your kitchen. You've got 4 walls, most people have, you've got a ceiling. That fireball is going to hit the ceiling, come down.